Roberta Martinez never imagined that her final moments of freedom were already slipping away. Only hours earlier, she had fired the shots that ended the life of her former boyfriend after a heated domestic confrontation turned fatal. What she did not know was that several people had witnessed the entire scene unfold from beginning to end. While she tried to shape her story for detectives, the evidence around her was already beginning to close in. Investigators carefully challenged every detail she gave and informed her that eyewitness accounts painted a completely different picture from the version she was telling. As pressure built, Roberta slowly revealed details that would later become powerful evidence against her. She admitted that at one point she wanted to fire again, but could not bring herself to do it. She also described where one of the bullets struck the victim, while detectives questioned whether her explanation even matched the physical evidence. During the interview, officers directly challenged her claims and asked why the victim lost his life that day, forcing her deeper into a story that was quickly falling apart. Just after 5 p.m. on January 18, 2024, officers with the Albuquerque Police Department rushed to the intersection of Palomas Drive and Ross Avenue Southeast after reports of gunfire shook the neighborhood. When police arrived, they discovered Joseph Alvarez lying lifeless beside the driver's side door of a vehicle. A short distance away sat 29-year-old Roberta Martinez, overcome with emotion as she cried and apologized without realizing witnesses had already provided investigators with critical information about what truly happened. The relationship between Roberta and Joseph had been filled with instability for nearly 2 years. Joseph often managed to pull her back into his life with charm and promises, but the relationship also carried a troubling history of violence and police involvement. Authorities learned that Joseph was a convicted felon who was legally forbidden from possessing firearms, yet he still had access to 2 guns. Roberta insisted she acted to protect herself and claimed the shooting happened in self-defense. Under New Mexico law, deadly force can be justified only when someone faces an immediate and unavoidable threat. The instant that danger disappears, the legal protection disappears as well. That single detail would soon become the center of the entire investigation and the biggest challenge standing between Roberta and her defense.
I know it's been a stressful night, and I know some of this stuff might not be easy to talk about. But tell me what happened tonight.
So, started this morning. Me and Joseph have been together since, I want to say 2 nights before that.
Okay.
I remember everything was going pretty good. I mean, of course, we had our little arguments here and there, but for the most part, everything was going pretty smoothly.
And how do you know Joseph?
We were together for almost 2 years.
Okay. And when you say together?
He was my ex.
Okay, so like a kind of romantic
dated.
relationship. You dated, okay. So dated Joseph for 2 years. Okay, and you've been together...
We broke up for about, I want to say a year maybe now, 6 months.
You've been broken up for 6 months?
Something like that, I can't remember.
Okay, and then you spent the last few days together?
Yeah. And everything was going pretty good. Like, we had little arguments here and there, but it wasn't as bad as it usually is.
Okay.
So this morning, the plan was we would go and we would fix my car because my car needed to be cleaned, the massive oil sensor.
Okay.
So he was supposed to help me do that or whatever today. I wake up, he went to see his PO.
Okay, and where were you staying?
You
were staying at your place?
At this time, yes, at this point, yes, we were at my house.
This morning? Okay.
So we got up, already seen his PO. And then when I woke up, he wasn't there. So I waited for him. He finally got back. Everything was fine. He had brought me coffee and cereal. And
about what time did he come back?
I want to say like 10.
Okay.
11.
And you woke up around what time?
Yeah, I woke up around 10. He got back maybe around 11:30.
Got it. Okay.
And he had brought me some Starbucks and some cereal, and everything was fine. So I finished getting ready. He waited for me. And we were supposed to go to my car, but instead he got a call, so he was going to go meet his friend.
Okay.
And in the midst of this, I don't know why he got so mad, but I said, is spur of the moment thing where we're just supposed to go do my car. I got so mad for some reason. And we're sitting over there at the bird. And we're gonna have gotten some food to eat. And before I know it, he's like yelling at me and telling me to get the fuck out of his car. And I was like, no, like take me back home to my car.
And where was this? You said you were at the bird?
And he was just screaming at me so bad.
And what is that? The bird?
The bar. It's like a little store, like a bar, I want to say. On the street from where everything happened.
For nearly 2 years, Roberta and Joseph stayed trapped in a relationship that constantly shifted between affection and chaos. Their connection was filled with emotional highs, followed by frightening moments of conflict that repeatedly pulled police into their lives. The year before the deadly shooting, Roberta had already filed a report against Joseph after tensions between them became impossible to ignore. In another disturbing incident, Joseph allegedly struck her, grabbed her by the hair, and later contacted police himself, which caused the situation to spiral even further. That case was eventually dismissed, but the toxic pattern between them never truly ended. Joseph was also a convicted felon, which legally prevented him from owning firearms, yet according to Roberta, he still carried 2 guns. She claimed she warned authorities about the weapons before, but believed no real action was taken to remove them. Despite all the violence, all the reports, and all the warning signs, the two still found themselves together again on the morning of January 18, 2024, acting as though the past had somehow disappeared. Joseph even bought her Starbucks, and for a brief moment their day appeared calm and ordinary. But underneath that temporary peace, the tension between them was quietly building once again. And before long, the situation would explode into a tragedy that neither of them could take back.
And mentioned something about we were supposed to just go to my car and do my car, and he got so mad. And so he started yelling at me and pointing his gun at me. He's like, get the fuck out of my car. And I was like, but I need to get to my car, or let me get my stuff at least. And he's like, no. And he punches me in the face. So I hit him back. And then he hit me again. And he started trying to get his gun and point it at me. And he's like, I'll fucking shoot you. And I was like, well, what's wrong with you? Like, why are you acting like this? All he said was that this was a last minute thing. And he was just so pissed off, so he starts driving. And as he starts driving, before we start driving, he grabs the ice cream out of my hand. And he squeezes it and it goes everywhere. And then before we take off, he gets the ice cream because it got all over his car. He really wanted to shoot me, so he gets the ice cream and rubs it all in my face. And we take off, and he's literally hitting me with his gun, trying to hit me. And I get my foot, and I'm trying to stop him because he keeps trying to hit me with his gun. And he's like, I'm gonna fucking shoot you. I'm gonna fucking shoot you. So I get my gun and I cock my gun. And I was just trying to scare him. I wasn't trying to shoot him or anything, but he kept on getting closer and closer, and I'm fighting with him, struggling with him so he doesn't shoot me. So finally, we're still driving. We pull up to where we were at. And he goes and he actually puts the gun away. So after he does that, he gets out and he stands up. And he looks at me and he's like, watch, wait and see what the fuck happens. He went like this, and I didn't know what to do, and I shot him. I shot him because I didn't know what he was going to do. He went back to, it looked like he was going to pull his gun out again. And I thought that was the only chance I had, so I shot him. I think 3 times.
The detective slips in an okay at the end of that harrowing tale, like he's doing his best impression of Mr. Mackey from South Park. But that's beside the point. What he's really digging for is the truth, all the while presenting himself as an empathetic quality listener. And Roberta is certainly talking.
Escalated really quick.
And then he kept saying, I'm gonna fucking shoot you. I was like, just let me out of the car. And then he would go to let me out of the car, but then he would start driving off again, pointing the gun at me.
So you were at a liquor store up the way. It kind of sounds like that's where the real conflict started.
Yeah.
About what time was that?
I don't even know. I don't even know. I was like, I have no idea.
Okay. About how long before you guys parked and all of this happened?
What do you mean?
Like when you shot Joseph, about how long before that were you at the liquor store?
Like 5 minutes.
Okay, so it sounds like
He took off from the liquor store and he started driving around trying to shoot me. Trying to hit me with his gun.
okay.
And then we pulled up right there. That's when he got out. He got out, and I can't remember if he put his gun in his pants before or after he got out, but I just know that he went. He's like, watch, but you'll fucking. And then he was already out of the car when he said that. And I think his gun was already in his pants, but he did something to where I thought he was gonna get his gun out again and try to shoot me again.
Where was his hand?
It looked like he went to grab his gun.
Okay.
He didn't necessarily grab it, but he may have pushed it towards the gun.
Okay. What I'm gonna do is, if it's okay, I'd like to stand up, and if you just look at me, I'm gonna move my hand, and you let me know where his hand was when you shot him. Okay. So I'm gonna stand just a little bit closer. So I'm gonna start with my hand here. Slowly, and you tell me when to stop, okay?
Right about there. No more.
More?
Like right there.
So right here? Okay. Kind of like in the middle of his belly? Okay.
From what I can remember.
And then, where was your gun at the time?
I was in my hand.
Was your gun in your hand
The whole time
The
it
whole
was in my hand. Because at one point in time, I almost squeezed the trigger because he had his gun pointed at my head. He had his gun pointed at my head, and then eventually he got me down my hair, and he put the gun to the back of my head. And he's like, I'm gonna fucking shoot you, I'm gonna fucking shoot you. The gun flashed to the back of my head, and he let go. So that's when I believe I grabbed my gun. I can't remember when I grabbed my gun, but I just remember I grabbed my gun, and I cocked it, and he was about to shoot me. And I went to pull the trigger, and I didn't. For some reason, I couldn't pull the trigger. And then that's when he got the gun. That's when he had the gun already. And that's when he got me by my hair and put the gun to the back of my head. That's what happened. And then he let me go. He let me go, and then I think there's a few times where he was trying to point it at me again, and I had to keep kicking his hand down with my foot. Oh, he got mad. He got mad because I accidentally spit on him, and that's when he grabbed the ice cream. I was talking, and I got spit on.
Okay.
Hidden inside Roberta's version of events was one detail that may have revealed far more than she intended. During her account of the confrontation, she admitted that she tried to fire at Joseph while both of them were still sitting inside the vehicle. At that moment, Joseph allegedly had a gun pointed directly at her head, which could still place her actions within the boundaries of self-defense under the law. But investigators were not only focused on the danger she claimed to face in that instant, they were also paying close attention to what her actions suggested about her state of mind. According to detectives, her decision to use deadly force may have started long before the final shots were fired outside the car. By the time Joseph stepped out of the vehicle and reportedly lowered or put away his weapon, investigators believed Roberta had already mentally committed to shooting him. That distinction would become one of the most critical parts of the case because prosecutors would later argue that the immediate threat was no longer present when the fatal gunfire happened. What began as a claim of survival was now starting to look far more complicated under the growing weight of the evidence.
When did you guys start driving?
About, I want to say 5 minutes into the argument.
Okay.
And then he took off.
And does he still have the gun at this time?
Yeah.
When did you... Actually, tell me about that gun. His gun. When was the first time you saw that gun?
About a month ago, maybe.
Okay.
He's had it for a while now.
He's had it for a while. Do you know where he got it?
I have no idea, but I know that he had an AR as well.
Okay.
Those guys always used to threaten me with that thing too.
Okay.
He pointed at me.
And when he pulled out his gun, where did he pull it from today?
His pants.
His pants? Whereabouts? The front, like the front of his waistband? Okay. Tell me about your gun.
My gun was in my backpack until he started pulling his gun out and pointing it at me.
Okay.
And then eventually I unzipped it. Wait, no, wait. I can't remember if it was in my backpack or if it was on the floor already.
Okay.
I believe it was in my backpack.
Okay.
I believe it was unzipped it and pulled it out.
Sure. And where did you get that gun?
That one a friend had given to me.
Okay. Okay. So...
Well, actually, I traded a friend for that gun, for another gun I used to have.
Okay. But you got it through a friend. Through a trade. Okay. And it was either on the floor of the car,
I think it was in my backpack, I want to say.
Or in your backpack. Okay, but probably in your backpack.
Yeah.
So when did you first pull out your gun?
When we were driving.
When you were driving?
After the whole incident in the parking lot.
Okay. And please understand, the big thing is I don't want to make any assumptions. So I might ask you questions that sound like stupid questions, but it's only because I can't assume why you did anything you did, okay? Even if it seems kind of obvious, I'll ask. Why did you pull your gun out?
Because he kept trying to hit me with his, and he kept pointing his at me and saying he was going to shoot me. And then I can't remember if I pulled out my gun before or after he put his gun into the back of my head right here.
Okay.
I can't remember. I think it was after.
So there was a time, it sounds like, on the way over where you remember that he grabbed your head and pushed it down and then put his gun to the back of your head and threatened to shoot you.
Well, he was threatening to shoot me the whole time, I guess.
Right, okay.
That's when he actually had the gun plushed to the back of my head.
So he had your head at that time.
Yeah, I had it on the back of my head.
Okay.
My hair, and then he had the gun on the back of my head.
Okay. And where were you when this happened?
In the passenger seat.
Yeah.
This was right, I can't remember.
But it was...
I want to say it's when I don't know. I don't remember exactly when it was.
Okay. But it was somewhere on the way over?
No, it must have been parked, I want to say, because he had both hands.
Okay.
I don't know if that's when we first pulled up and parked.
Okay. So,
Roberta's account of the shooting was emotional and difficult to follow, which is not unusual in a high-stress situation like this. But detectives were focused on something much bigger than her confusion. They were trying to piece together an exact timeline of what happened during the final moments before Joseph was killed. As the interview continued, investigators noticed that key parts of Roberta's story were shifting and failing to match the evidence they had already collected from the scene and from witness statements. Every new detail raised more questions about what truly happened inside and outside the vehicle. Detectives carefully pushed for clarity because the sequence of events would determine whether the shooting could legally be considered self-defense or something far more serious. The more Roberta spoke, the more investigators believed there were critical gaps between her version of events and the reality supported by the evidence around them. What started as a tragic explanation was slowly turning into a story detectives no longer fully believed.
He was trying to pistol whip me. He got me in my hands a few times. And then before that, he punched me in the face a few times. But the main thing was just trying to pistol whip me.
Okay.
And he's like, I'm gonna pistol whip you. So he kept striking me. The back of the gun.
Okay.
And I kept kicking it away.
And I'm sorry, what part of the gun? You said the
he
back.
He was trying to hit me in the back of it.
So, there's the grip, right, that you hold.
He had the grip.
Was it this part or this part?
The back part where it curves.
Okay.
Where I guess the hammer would be, if it was a revolver.
Okay, like the back part.
He was trying to hit me with that part a few times.
Would you kind of show me what he was doing? Like if he was holding the gun.
He was trying to hit me while he was driving. He kept trying to hit me with the gun.
And so is that the motion he was making like that?
Well, he actually, I was next to him and he was sitting like this, so it was more like.
Which hand was he holding that gun in?
I can't remember. I want to say with his left hand.
Okay.
Because he was driving with his right.
Okay, so driving with his right and
trying to go over and hit me.
Okay. I hit you a couple times in the hands.
He couldn't really get me because he kept kicking it away from me.
You kept kicking it?
I kept kicking his hand away from me.
You're using my
foot to kick it away.
To kick it away?
Yeah, because I didn't want to use my gun.
Okay, so you were holding the gun at this time.
I believe so, yes.
Okay. So it sounds like, and I know that it all happened fast and it's not really clear. Kind of as we're talking, it sounds like you remember having your gun in your hand on the way over.
Yes, like as soon as I think I started driving is when I grabbed my gun out.
Okay. When you grabbed your gun, when he had his gun out and he was threatening you, why didn't you shoot him?
I tried to.
You tried to shoot
at first, but for some reason it felt like it was stuck, like it didn't want to go.
So you
when I tried to pull the trigger, he kept trying to shoot us. Okay. I was so afraid to the point where I thought he was going to shoot me at that point. So I got my gun and pointed it at him. I tried to pull the trigger, but it felt like it wasn't going to shoot. It felt like it didn't shoot. Like it tried to squeeze and it didn't let off.
Okay. How many times do you think you tried to pull the trigger?
Once. It was once.
One time. And where were you?
In the passenger seat. He was driving.
And he was driving, so somewhere on the way.
And I believe he had the gun pointed at me. That's the only way.
Okay.
On the way to where
Okay.
This couple seemed completely careless with weapons, treating them more like toys than something capable of taking a life. They laughed, waved the guns around, and acted recklessly while driving through the streets as if there were no real danger involved. Instead of showing responsibility, they appeared comfortable handling firearms in a reckless and immature way that could have easily ended in disaster long before the deadly shooting happened. Their behavior raised serious concerns about how easily dangerous weapons can fall into the hands of people who are clearly not prepared to handle them safely. What looked playful on the surface carried the potential for tragedy every single second they treated those firearms like props instead of deadly weapons.
Why do you think he didn't shoot you? I know that you don't know what was going on.
Because he couldn't get a clear aim because I kept kicking the gun.
Okay.
He kept kicking his arm and I kept getting his arm away from me so he couldn't aim at me.
Okay. How about when he had it pointed to your head?
Why didn't he shoot?
Yeah, do you have any idea why he?
Because he really wanted to kill me, but he didn't want to get in trouble.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. And again, I don't think you could know that, right? I'm just kind of wonder if you have any thoughts on that.
Because I think it would have been too messy in his nice Cadillac, and that's why he got mad when he squeezed the ice cream and then rubbed it all in my face. Because I dirtied his Cadillac, and I think that's what he was really concerned about, was dirtying his Cadillac with my blood.
Was that, with the ice cream, that was still in the parking lot, right?
Right before we drove off.
Right before you drove off. So was that after the gun came out?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. That moment that you tried to shoot him, what was he doing right at that moment?
When the gun didn't want to go off.
Yeah.
He was pointing his gun at me, trying to shoot me.
Okay. And do you know where you were? Okay. So then, it sounds like on the way over, he's kind of doing all this. He's threatening you. He's threatening to shoot you, threatening to kill you. He's trying to hit you with the gun, trying to point the gun at you. And then you end up it sounds like you drove around the block. You're not sure what route you took, but you ended up parked outside the French Quarter. Do you know anybody that lives there? Have you ever lived at the French Quarter? Or stayed there in any period of time?
No.
Okay. So that's when he pulls there and then he parks. Does he say anything then?
Just got out of the car.
So he puts the gun away and then he gets out of the car and he's faced away from you briefly while he gets out and then he turns back towards you.
Yes.
At that time, you've got the gun pointed at him. At any point, do you remember aiming or...
I was just already aimed.
Pointing... What's that?
I was already aimed.
Okay. And then you shot once, and it sounds like you said it didn't seem like much happened.
No, he was still standing up.
He was still standing up. And then, how long was it between when you shot the first time and then a few seconds? A few seconds? What was he doing in that few seconds?
He was standing up still.
He was standing up. Where was his gun?
I believe that's when he went to